Good morning. I'm Ed Wolfe, your Kitsap County Commissioner. Welcome to my Commissioner's Corner. I'm happy to have you here today. Today, I think you're going to learn something that will be very informative. If some of you may remember, last time I talked about regional law and justice, and we concentrated on the sheriff's office and the jail. Did a ride along with the sheriff, even had a DUI pickup. But this is different. We're going to a different element, a different project today, and that is regional law and justice as it relates to the prosecutor's office and as it relates to our courthouse. I think you're going to find this very innovative, and I think hopefully you'll find it very informative, so stay tuned. Be right back. Welcome back to Commissioner's Corner. Again, I'm still Ed Wolfe. I'd like to introduce Prosecutor Chad Enright. Chad, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
You're certainly welcome. I think it's the first time you've been on Commissioner's Corner before. You've been elected over a year now. We're happy to have you where you are. Today, I'd like for you to talk to our audience at home about your vision, the challenges in the prosecutor's office, if you have challenges, and where you think you're going to make the most change. If you wouldn't mind just giving us some information in that regard. But before we do that, you and I are, of course, separately elected officials. You have your responsibilities, but we're one county government. And I feel very strongly, and always have, that at least in this position, that we need to work together as a team. And I think we do that well with the prosecutor's office. I think we do that well certainly with the sheriff's office. The partnerships are extremely important. So we do have some differences in that, in terms of our duties, respective duties, in that we have a charter in our county, and you have mandated functions and responsibilities that the county has nothing to do with. We coordinate many times and work together on budget issues, but everything else pretty much, in my mind, belongs to the prosecutor with regard to your charges. But they're all good. So let's start with, if we can, what is your office? What does it do? Let's keep it that simple from the beginning, if we could.
Well, the prosecutor's office, we have three main functions. One is we enforce family support, child support obligations. And so we receive cases from the state of Washington where people are delinquent in their child support, and we enforce that. The second big thing we do is we have a civil division, and our civil division provides legal advice to all the county elected officials and county departments. And
including the commissioners.
Including the commissioners.
Yeah.
And so we run that really like a private law firm. And we have clients, and we bill those clients. We keep our hours. So for example, the treasurer. The treasurer has an attorney in our office, and we will represent the treasurer.
Okay.
We will represent the assessor.
You're the largest private law firm in the county, aren't you?
That's absolutely true. We are the largest law firm in Kitsap County. And one of the things that I always want to make sure that people know is that, you know, we give that legal advice. But like you mentioned earlier, we are independently, separately elected offices. So we can advise the commissioners what we think you should do, but the commissioners make those decisions, and the treasurer makes those decisions, and the auditor makes those decisions. The third thing that we do, and this is sort of the thing that most people think about, is the criminal prosecution. Your county prosecutor's office will prosecute all felonies across the county.
Okay.
No matter what city you're in, if it's a felony, which is any crime where the maximum sentence is over a year, that's going to be the Kitsap County Prosecutor's Office that prosecutes that. We will also prosecute all misdemeanors and gross misdemeanors that happen in the unincorporated parts of the county.
And a misdemeanor, just for the public that may never have been in our courthouse or before the prosecutor, misdemeanor meaning how much time, how much dollar?
Maximum penalty is going to be less than a year.
Okay.
So that your common misdemeanors and gross misdemeanors are going to be your DUIs.
Okay.
That's really, those are our priorities.
Okay.
We will also do misdemeanor and gross misdemeanor prosecution for the city of Port Orchard and the city of Bainbridge Island. So we contract with them, much like a private firm would contract with the city to do their prosecution. City of Bremerton, city of Paulsbo, they have their own offices. They will do their own misdemeanor prosecution. We will do the felony prosecution, whether it's in Bremerton or in Paulsbo. But those are really the three main things that the prosecutor's
And of all those, thank you, of those different areas, how many deputy prosecutors and staff do you manage?
We have a total office is roughly 90 people. And I would say a little more than half of that is going to be attorneys. We have a large staff that helps us out, and they're just an incredible staff. The biggest part of our office is the criminal division and our felony division. So we will also do all juvenile crimes in Kitsap County, and so we've got prosecutors who do our juvenile offenses, and so that's really the bulk of what we do.
Okay, and it's very important, I think, for the public to know that what you do, I should say, what you and your team do, not just with the sheriff, it's extremely important that we coordinate building this healthy, excuse me, healthy and safe community, continuing to make our community healthy and safe. So I thank you for that. The word I'm going to use next is journey. Tell us, or tell the public, if you would, what's been your journey? I know you've been a prosecutor for probably 10, 12, 13 years, as I recall. You were in private practice before that. Well, I guess I'm answering the question. What has been your journey?
Well, I'm from Kitsap County. I grew up here in Kitsap County. I lived in Suquamish and in Paulsbo.
You went to Central?
I went to North Kitsap.
Okay.
North Kitsap High School, Paulsbo Elementary,
Okay.
Paulsbo Middle School. Both my parents were teachers. They were public school teachers in the North Kitsap district. I started practicing law here, working with Joan Case and Melissa Hemstreet.
Were you a Rule 9?
I was a Rule 9 here in the county prosecutor's office. So I spent, while I was in law school, came and was an intern with the prosecutor's office.
Fantastic.
And that actually was really helpful in getting me a job here in Kitsap County. This is where I wanted to live. This is where I wanted to work.
We hope.
There is no place I would rather be than Kitsap County. And so I started with Joan Case and Melissa Hemstreet. Melissa Hemstreet is now one of our Superior Court judges. And I worked in their firm, and a lot of what I did there was contracted with the county to do indigent public defense. And that really shaped a lot of what I do and the cases and how I see the cases that we have. I think that creates a very well-rounded prosecutor when you have that time doing public defense. And so I did public defense for about 4 years and then was hired by Russ Hauge to be a deputy prosecuting attorney, and spent most of my time prosecuting domestic violence and sex offenses and doing mental health civil commitments. When Tina Robinson...
You were also, with former prosecutor Robinson, as I recall, you were the chief criminal...
The chief of the felony and juvenile division.
Well, that was close.
Close. And so when Tina Robinson was elected, I moved into that position, and so I got to oversee our whole felony division and our juvenile division, and really work with those partners that you discussed, partnering with the sheriff's office and our local law enforcement and our Superior Court and our district court, and dealing with those partnerships really helped me here. That when Tina decided she wasn't going to run, there's no place I'd rather work than here in Kitsap County, and I love the Kitsap County Prosecutor's Office, and I love the people that I work with.
So we have a little bit of time left. Let's talk, if we could, about what you've been on the job since last November, December. What are the challenges you see within your office, and what are your priorities?
Really, big picture, what we're seeing across this country right now is criminal law and criminal justice reform. And Kitsap County is no different. What we are doing is we are transitioning from about 40 or 50 years of this punishment model of law enforcement and prosecution, and trying to transition it to a treatment reform model.
Punishment versus treatment?
Right. And so we've seen over the last 20 years, particularly here in Kitsap County, the growth of our treatment court programs, our drug court, our veterans court, our now human trafficking court, our behavioral health court.
Okay.
And these are all steps towards that big goal of getting us closer to being able to get towards the root causes of crime, get to those reasons why people are committing crimes. And that's really, you've seen criminal justice reform at the federal level, And that's happening here at the local level too.
And I think well, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'm a big fan of drug court, veterans court, behavioral court. I believe you are too. We just went through a budget process with regard to all of that. Is that the trend for the future in terms of the changes you were just talking about? Different preventive type court? Or?
Yeah, and I would go back to something that you said earlier, Ed, when you talk about healthy communities. We know, to a large extent, we know what causes crime. And so we work together, I think, as county government in trying to prevent these things. You know, good schools help prevent crime, daycare, health care. I think good roads help prevent crime because it shows a commitment to your community. All of these things together, healthy communities, result in less crime. And so I think that's really part of what we want to be is in partnering with our other government agencies from the federal level all the way down to the state and local level.
You know what, this has nothing to do with anything I was going to ask you about, but what really impresses me about Kitsap County, and I was in Seattle practicing for a while and been here in this court for 20 years, 20 plus years, the people in the prosecutor's office, you and others, and in the county government here, we are out in the community. And I didn't see that to the extent that I see it here in Seattle or any other place I've lived, certainly in Washington, D.C. area. You're out in the community. Our staff is out in the community. To me, that helps make this healthy and community with partnership goals. Yeah.
We are part of the community.
We're definitely part of the community. So before we close this down, have I missed anything that you would like the public at home to know about, that where you're going with this office? Hopefully you're going to be with us for a long time, as I said earlier. There's quite a longevity rate, I think, to most prosecutors. Tina decided to leave after one term, but hopefully you're going to stay with us. You don't have to comment on that today. But.
Well, I hope so, because like I said, this is where I'm from. I don't want to go anywhere. There's no other job I would rather have. I love this community. Like I said, I love the people that I work with. It's a fun office, and we have, over the last 25 years, I think the Kitsap County Prosecutor's Office has created a reputation for being innovative, for doing new things, for trying new things, and that's what I want to keep doing. I want to try new things. You know what? We may do some stuff, it just may not work, but we're going to keep doing new things. We're going to keep experimenting. We're going to keep trying. That's our culture, and that's what I want to keep doing.
Off the record question, not off the record, everything's on the record with me, but not any script that we've looked at or any preparation for this. When I asked Tina during a similar interview 4 or 5 years ago, the former prosecutor, would she go into court? Because I miss court. Would she go into court? And she said she's planning on doing it. I'm asking you because I've seen you sitting in court with some of your deputy prosecutors. Will you go back in and try any cases?
I have spoken to a number of people who have strongly urged me not to go in and try cases. I do like going into court. That's why you become a lawyer, because you love going to court. I love going to court. I love being there. If I can cover some motions calendars, I try to do that when I can. The issue with trying cases, doing trials is the toughest thing I think you do as an attorney.
Preparation.
You got to prepare, you got to be on, and you got to be in court all day, all week. And that is what prevents me from doing trials, is that I can't commit to being there all week because of all of the other responsibilities with our civil division, with family support, and all the other stuff that I have to do. But when I get that opportunity to go into court, I love to be there.
You've been around 10, 12 years. Has there been talk during that period about the need for a new courthouse in the past 10 or 12 years?
Absolutely. We are here at the end of September. The prosecutor's office is freezing this morning because it's cold.
Do we want the public to know all this?
Well, I think, look, it's the truth.
Yes, yes. I'm being facetious.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to pay for a new courthouse.
Yeah.
I have to remind people in my office, don't leave food out because the rats will get it. That's tough. And the rats are upstairs and the mice are downstairs. And so...
and we have unsafe conditions for lawyers in the hall or the public in the hall for the in-custodies that are coming over from the jail, rubbing up against individuals.
We are transporting inmates, chaining them up in groups of 6, 12 people, walking them through the same halls that victims are in, that witnesses are in, and expecting the public and these inmates to be safe. And we have an obligation to keep the inmates safe as well. So there are a lot of, there are structural issues with the building, there are safety issues with the building. Again, nobody wants to pay for a new courthouse, but this building has, it's served us well for a number of generations. It's long past its
long
due date.
overdue. I'm proud of the other two commissioners and the team that we put together. It may not be on everyone's timetable in terms of getting it all done tomorrow, but it's going to be done. I think it's got more than legs now, and we're going to have a new county courthouse, which, by the way, as the public should know if they don't, serves the entire county. It just doesn't serve Port Orchard or Bremerton. It serves all the cities. It serves all the counties, and you'll be around to experience it.
I hope so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Prosecutor Enright, for joining us, and until the next time.
Thanks.
Welcome back to Commissioner's Corner. I'm still Ed Wolfe, your County Commissioner from Central Kitsap. Today this afternoon, I'm going to continue talking about law and justice programs. As you will recall, if you saw the last segment, we had Prosecutor Enright talking about his operation across the street in the prosecutor's office. So we're talking about law and justice programs, the sheriff's programs, the prosecutor's programs. What about the facilities? What do we do with the facilities to support all of these programs? And by facilities, I mean juvenile detention, juvenile jail. By facilities, I mean the jail that we have here in Port Orchard, the county jail that houses about, I think, 420 some beds for inmates. And then also, what about the courthouse? What about the courthouse? That's the potential subject, or not the potential, that is the subject for this segment of Commissioner's Corner. And I'd like to welcome to my Commissioner's Corner Angie Silva. Angie, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to have you here.
Nice to see you.
Angie and I have worked together for 5 years now. She is the senior policy lead for the County Board of Commissioners, for all 3 commissioners. A very valuable person in our office. Angie was recently promoted, and I believe it's official now, to the Deputy Director of DCD, Department of Community Development. She's been with us for a long time, as I said earlier, with the Board of Commissioners. She's going to be missed, but she's not going far. Angie.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Today we're going to talk to each other and to the public at home about the courthouse.
Absolutely.
Now, what does that mean? Who wants to hear about a courthouse? I want to hear about the courthouse. What services do we have in the courthouse presently?
That's a really great question, and I think a lot of folks who live in the county, we have about a population of about 267,000 people. What most people don't know is about 230,000 people per year visit the courthouse. And encapsulating about 159,000 square feet, there's several regional critical programs that we're mandated by the state to provide to citizens here in the county. That includes the prosecutor who was on this segment earlier, the clerk who provides not only passport services but also is the financial record keeper for Superior Court, along with the judges, Superior Court, District Court, as well as information services. And another little known fact that people don't know is that in the basement of the courthouse, it's our backup 911 system. So when our 911 call center goes down in West Bremerton, they're heading down here for not only training but also backup services. And another element to this is also the Office of Public Defense. So if you can't afford attorney, the county does provide those services to individuals and citizens.
So let me make sure the public understands this. We're going to get into the courthouse and what our plans are as they're ongoing now. With regard to the history of the courthouse, did you say that our backup 911 is in the basement of the courthouse?
Oh, absolutely.
Am I correct? I've been practicing there for 20-some years. Am I correct in saying that the courthouse history, I believe, is that it was built in the 1930s initially,
Correct.
and then there have been subsequent renovations. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So the original version of the courthouse was built in 1935, and we've had 7 additions and remodels since then, concluding in 1978. Well, today, sitting here in 2019, from 1978, a lot has changed in terms of space needs. We're severely undersized for the programs we have today, as well as, I think the prosecutor mentioned earlier, some security concerns, in-custody defendant transfers and separating witnesses, victims, as well as that. In addition to, we have limited capabilities of improving our technology. 1978, Wi-Fi was never considered a building need, but today it is the facet of everything we do, from programs as well as public access to those services.
Okay. So there are challenges to this courthouse. You've mentioned a couple of them.
Absolutely.
Are there other challenges before we jump into what we're doing, why we're doing it, and when it's going to be done with regard to the courthouse? And I think this has been worked on for 20-some years, is that right, by different Board of County Commissioners. What are some of the most significant challenges today as we sit here with the courthouse in Port Orchard, the county courthouse?
One element is site constraints. We're looking to expand the courthouse within our own development ownership, as well as working with our neighbors on real estate acquisition of areas to support the courthouse functions, as well as money. What we'll talk about later is the cost to doing business and how that has escalated, and the difference between office space versus a courthouse function is very different.
Let's get into some detail. I wanted to slow this down in the beginning and now really jump into some detail. There's much talk, and of course all of the judges have been involved, and the court staff and the sheriff. We have a great team working on this together, not just the county here in the Board of Commissioners office. What's this about a feasibility study?
So last year, in consultation with the commissioners, but also the leadership across the street, which also includes the sheriff's office, is talking about the feasibility, or at the end of the day, what's our space needs, not only for today's programs, but 20, 30, 50 years down the road. Part of that feasibility study took programming, so how much does the prosecutor's office need in space today versus down the road, Office of Public Defense, Sheriff's Office, and all the various programs that we offer here, and forecast that forward. Part of that feasibility was also to look if we could fit it on our existing ownership site here, as well as real estate.
And how much land are we talking about?
We're looking about 13 to 14 acres total of our current ownership in the city of Port Orchard. And also part of that is to do some cost estimations. So what we'll find out is we went through 4 different options on how to accommodate the future of the courthouse on our site. And what we found through that process well exceeded our ability to pay. So the cost ranges between options 1 to 4, which is available on the county's website for view.
What's the website?
It's kitsapgov.com. And that was about $135 to $148 million to put that forward. Our existing revenues, which is real estate excise tax, that's a primary driver for public facilities, especially regional criminal law and justice programs. Our forecasting in that revenue fund is $54 million. So to move forward with a critical facility that we are undersized, severely outdated, the board opted for a fifth option. Board of Commissioners, correct. Opted for a 5th option to phase that through in 4 distinct phases. And one of our current phases for immediate construction is the courthouse wing, as well as adaptive reuse of the courthouse building.
Talk to me, Angie, if you would, about, since this feasibility study that's now done, that was last year, I think, last year, since this is done, there's been a lot of activity the past month or 2 that many of us have noticed out around the courthouse. In fact, I saw a couple of large cranes or machinery out there a couple weekends ago. What were they doing, and what's the activity and the buzz going around outside right now, inside, outside?
That's a really great question. So for the next year, we're going to be doing a lot of our due diligence that provides information as well as refines cost estimates for the courthouse addition. due diligence means, and what you probably saw on site, is surveyors. Today, actually, we're having traffic cameras getting posted around our parking lot areas and our roadways leading to the campus to get traffic counts as well as parking counts to aid in that effort. Last weekend, actually, I was out there on site myself. We were doing soil testing for our stormwater facilities, but also the constructability of buildings in the future. And that was using a drill
For the
rig.
different phases, buildings in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We assess our entire ownership. A drill rig to drill down to the soil and get soil testing, so we have a better sense associated with that.
So share with the viewers, if you would, well, as you've been doing, what's happening today and what's going to be happening with regard to the courthouse in 2020, next year?
Excellent question. So as we move forward to the next year, we'll wrap up our due diligence that'll aid in the design of the courthouse, aid in the cost estimations of that. So again, we have a $54 million target and we're going to stick to it. Aid in the cost estimations as well as the overall design. Next stage of that is to confirm programming with the offices. Did we get the space needs right for today as well in the future? But also do some value engineering through a schematic design. So getting very detailed, not just the first phase, but all 4 phases of what the courthouse and the replacement of the courthouse will look in the future. That leads us to next year, springtime next year. Another contract for services will move forward, and that gets us ready for bid preparation, and meaning the documents will be engineered well beyond 30, 60, and 90%, but the point of where we can go out for a public bid for a builder and contractor to help us deliver that project within the money that we have set aside, but also the schedule.
So summarize, if you would, the targeted, no one's going to hold you or anyone else to this, what's the targeted time schedule for all this, to keep it simple? We've done the feasibility. We're doing design work now and preparation work. What's the targeted timetable for our best guesstimation at this point for
Our
completion?
goal is to turn dirt in spring of 2021 for the courthouse addition. That'll be about a year or so, 18 months of construction with opening in 2022. Once that's open, and the courthouse addition is looking for 12 additional courtrooms, secured hearing room, and we'll move over Superior Court staff as well as judges. Once that wing is open, we will then look inside the existing courthouse for the department reshuffle, and that'll take a couple years after that. So expanding space, letting programs room to grow as we continue to look for additional funds to completely replace the courthouse.
So the funding is taken care of at this point, we believe.
For the first phase,
For the
yes.
first phase. So let's, for those at home that want a little more detail, when will our new courthouse, phase 1, be operational?
2022, that's the courthouse addition.
2022?
Yep,
Okay.
courthouse addition.
Okay. Can we hold you to that?
Sure.
Thank you, Angie. It's been great working with you for 5 years, and we'll continue working together. Very proud of you with your new position as Deputy Director of DCD, Department of Community Development. Thanks for being here today. And again, if anyone wants to learn more about the courthouse plan, they would go to
Kitsapgov.com.
kitsapgov.com, and I would suggest that anyone that has an interest take a look at that. Thanks again, Angie.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
We will.
Well, thank you for being with me again on my Commissioner's Corner. It's been a very informative day for me, and as you can see, we have more than just moving parts with regard to a new courthouse. More than moving parts, we actually have traction after 15 or 20 years. We have traction, we're moving forward. I'm excited about it. It's going to be completed, as we just heard, in 2022, we hope, at least the first phase. The last episode we talked about law enforcement, and we talked about the sheriff's office, met with the sheriff and some of the jail staff. This session, our corner, we've talked to the prosecutor and some of the challenges he has and priorities in the prosecutor's office. And finally, we wrapped up with Ms. Silva talking about the courthouse that I'm particularly excited about personally and professionally. A lot of moving parts, tremendous moving parts. It's not going to be done overnight. And I would point out to the public that's interested in this area that 76% of the county property and sales tax, 76% goes to law and justice in the county. pretty fascinating number if you didn't know that. We're moving forward. We're going to build this courthouse for 50 years down the road. Best technology we can find, 50 years down the road, not a courthouse for the next 10 or 15 years. I hope you learned a lot today. I hope you enjoyed the day. Thanks for being with me on Commissioner's Corner. I'm Ed Wolfe, and I'll be Ed Wolfe next time I see you here.